Sure. All right. Um, is this recording? Yeah, it's recording. Thanks everyone for joining on a hot July, almost August day. It's almost time to start thinking about paddle again.
Yeah.
And one of the one of the main reasons for this call is just, a few reminders of what everyone who runs their league sites or their leagues just needs to be thinking about as they get ready to start next season. So we'll just talk a little bit about some of the housekeeping items for all the people who run leagues and league sites. Karen Nejedlik and Mike Yachimsky will talk a little bit about the APTA tour for the upcoming season. That schedule is out. Hopefully everyone has seen it. And then Damian Johnson, our APTA board president, will talk about the annual meeting we had in May, and just a couple of highlights from that. Well, I'm very pleasantly surprised to see so many people on the call. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I think there's going to be a lot of people watching this back as a recording. So, thank you, everyone here, for participating. And we'll try to, please ask as many questions because I'm sure people watching will benefit from any kind of Q&A. So, with that, I will start us off here with the first agenda item, and basically league housekeeping. And basically, the most important thing to remember before you start to set up your site for next season, you want to remember to archive your site from the prior season. And um, I flipped through basically the 40 or 50 sites that we have running leagues, and 90% of them have not yet archived last season. And there's good reasons for not archiving. I think Damien would tell you for his league, they like to use the PTI data and just the league standings from the end of last season to just remind themselves about who gets relegated, who gets promoted, that kind of thing. And captains still like to see who's on their rosters before you clear them out. So there are good reasons not to have archived yet, but before you open up registration for next season, you definitely need to have archived. And again, archiving, the way you archive is you just send an email to Nancy at Paddle Scores with archive in the subject line. It usually takes them about 24 hours to archive the site, and then you should be all set. And again, once you've archived the site, you still have access to it. There's an archive link in the top right of everyone's site where you can go back and see standings and rosters, et cetera. So you're not losing that. You're just cleaning the slate for the coming season. So that's step one and the most important takeaway. The second thing um, is getting your registrations forms set up. And this year, the APTA is going to ask that everybody requires, and most of this is already required, but name, email, cell, phone number, state, and birthday. We don't need street addresses anymore, but giving us birthdays and state and cell will really help us differentiate players who have similar names or the same name. And it will also allow us to be able to filter emails, actually both from the league level, but also from the APTA level. So to really target specific emails to specific groups and not to have to, we try to be very careful about not spamming people and sending too many emails to the extent we have gender. And we are asking also everyone required gender for sites where both men and league play in this, men and women both play in the league. So if it's a women's league and no men are allowed to play in it, you don't need to require gender. If it's a men's league, women aren't allowed to play, you don't need to require it. But there are many leagues and sites that have both men and women playing on the same site and in the same league. So we will require gender for those. We have one new capability for new registration forms, and that capability is basically if you run multiple leagues on a site and you want to charge different league fees for the different leagues, you can now tie a registration form to a specific league. So, for example, if your women's day league you're charging $35 league fee, and your women's evening league, you're only charging $15. You can have separate registration forms for either. And you can only be rostered on the league that you register for. So if you don't want people who haven't registered for the evening league but have for the day league, if you want them to only be able to only be rostered on the day league, they can register for that specific league, and they'll be able to roster for that. But it used to be, for most sites, if you register on the site, you're pretty much eligible for any league out there. So now you can differentiate. And so anyone who's interested in exploring that, definitely reach out to me. This will be the first time we will have attempted it. I'm sure there'll be some quirks with it, but it does give some people some flexibility around doing that now. And there are probably a half dozen leagues out there that do have lots of different leagues with different price points on them. So that's a new feature there.
Quick question on that, before you move on.
Yeah.
So can you have one registration form with multiple leagues, or there's like a checkbox you can select the leagues you want to sign up for, or you have to have a different registration form for each league?
So if you check nothing off, the registration form will cover everything on the site. If you have a registration form and you check specifically, this is for the Grosse Pointe Evening League, then it will only apply for the Grosse Pointe Evening League. It will not cover the whole site. So the default is the one registration form covers the entire site, but you can override that by tying a registration form to a specific sub-league.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Registration's opening by Labor Day. So ideally everyone, we have basically two different price points for APTA membership. $90 if you go directly through the APTA, and $45 if you do it through a league. So we actually want to encourage everyone in the country to find a league site to join through, so that everyone's just paying $45. We want people, ideally everyone would open up their registrations by Labor Day, because we have tournaments in Chicago and in New Jersey. So both the two hotbeds for both tournaments, which is paddle in general. There are people who are going to be registering for tournaments potentially as early as late August, but certainly into September. And if you open up the registration on your site, that gives all of those tournament players the ability to register and pay the $45 APTA fee through the leagues, as opposed to having to go directly to the APTA site and pay $90. So that's why we'd like everyone to open up registration as early as possible. Labor Day seems pretty reasonable. I think the first Montclair is probably about the first tournament. That's early October. So they certainly will be opening registration up by Labor Day, if not a little before that. I think Medina is fairly early as well.
Yes.
So we'll have a similar situation for the people in Chicago needing to renew their memberships.
And if I could add on that, I think it would also be really nice for leagues to consider ways for people who aren't yet a member of a club or aren't eligible yet for league play to find other players for casual matches and sign up for the APTA using your league discount. And if you have a way to let people do that, I think that would be really great. We found a lot of people at the end of the season last year wanted to participate in team nationals. They'd been playing friendlies and that sort of thing, but they had no way to record their matches because they didn't play in your leagues. And I think we all share the same goal of growing the game and introducing the game to people. And so even if people aren't playing in your league per se this season, introducing them into it and welcoming them as a part of the community might be a way of getting them to join a club or join a team and then become part of your league as well. So it's a growth opportunity, not only for the APTA, but for each of your leagues.
Great. Thank you, Damien. Before I turn this over to Karen to talk about the tour, just going to nerd out just a little bit here for all of you who run league sites. I've attached this document here in the agenda, which I'd send out to you, and I'll send it out in the recap email as well. But I put together just a document that shows just some tips for maintaining your site. And the first one just talks about how you archive. The second tip is never delete a player from your membership database. Even if a player no longer is active in your league or moved away, you don't want to delete them because they have match history in your league. And if you delete them, it deletes, it'll delete the match history associated with that. And that will impact the other 3 people on the court for any match they played. This one is the duplicate player one is one I've noticed that there's definitely some sites out there that haven't looked into this. So Leslie, apologies for using your site as an example, but I thought you had some very good examples. You got some background noise. I'm going to mute you.
One word with no cheese.
You can everybody's phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at how to do this.
Hold on.
Rick's mom can say, burn it.
Where's my mute all?
Yeah, I can mute.
Somebody mute your phone, please.
Okay, sorry, I muted everyone there. If you, hopefully you'll be able to unmute yourself if you have a question. But going back here, if you will go to your site and you go to admin membership and you click on duplicates, you will see a list of players who have the same exact name. Now that doesn't mean they're necessarily duplicate profiles, because there are plenty of people who have or leagues that have 2 people with the same name, but they're different clubs, different email addresses. But you'll notice here in the New Jersey Women's Flex League that Jill Gimber, I think all of these are pretty clearly, except for maybe Kate Rogers, you have 2 different email addresses, 2 different clubs, but the rest of them, same name, same club, same email. You want to just go in here, click off all of these players, and then hit merge duplicate players, and that will merge those profiles into one. And the reason you want to do that is you don't want 2 different profiles on that site, because you might end up having the same person with 2 different playing histories, 2 different PTIs, etc. So always good to clean up your duplicate players on your site. And then
If I could jump in on that one too, I mean, do
Yeah.
make sure that they are correct and that when you duplicate them, because this, unlike linking, cannot be undone. So
Yes.
do make sure that they are in fact the same person before you merge them. We have run into situations where people have gotten their histories intertwined, and it is sometimes tedious, if not impossible, to disentangle them if we do it by accident. So do be careful about that. One of the things
that's a good
I
point.
do is if they're 2 different people, I will either add a middle initial, I'll go contact them and find a middle initial, or some leagues also will put in parentheses after their last name, their club name or a club abbreviation, so that you can disambiguate them from each other.
Yeah. So in this example for this site, Kate Rogers looks like this could be 2 different Kates. Worth reaching out to the 2 Kates. If they are different, just add a middle initial in, and then they will disappear from this duplicate player list. And then just finally, for housekeeping items, there is a list called the unsubscribe list. So at the beginning of every year, if you go to, I'll go show you on my site. If you go to admin communications and then reactivate emails, you will see a list of everyone who has unsubscribed from getting emails from your site. And so I've got probably 50 or 60 here. I would guess that at least 10 to 20% of them are on there accidentally. And so what I do at the beginning of each season is I cut and paste this list into an email, and I send it out to captains and say, please check this list. If you have an active player on your roster, they're not going to receive emails from you, or they can't receive any emails through the site because they're on this list. And it's very easy to add them back. You just click on their name and reactivate them. But a lot of people are on this list for good reasons. They've moved away from the area. They're no longer playing paddle, etc. And so those people should just remain on the list. But it's very easy to accidentally unsubscribe, unfortunately, especially on a mobile device, just given where that unsubscribe link is on the email. So just a heads up that list exists. And if you are having players in your league that aren't getting emails, they're probably on this list. Go and check it there.
I mean, question about that. I know we talked earlier this spring. If somebody unsubscribes from a different tennis scores site, it seems like they're unsubscribed from all of them. You guys are gonna look into that. Is that?
I think they fixed that. I will double check on that though.
Okay.
I remember that definitely was an issue, but I think they corrected that. But Jenny, you bring up a good point. Like I got a little over exuberant once in trying to clean up that list, and so I would just go in and for people who I know didn't want to be on the list, I just deleted their email, and so they wouldn't be on the unsubscribe list. That's not a good thing to do because if they're linked on another site, it will remove their email from that site as well. So,
Which then also makes them hard to find as duplicates.
which makes them hard to find as duplicates. So, all right, that's probably deep enough into the bowels of managing your league sites. But again, the key takeaways are remember to archive, clean up your duplicates. Let's get registrations open, as early as possible, and definitely reach out to me if you have questions on your registration form. And if you want to try the new feature out of charging different fees for different leagues. With that, I'll turn it over to Karen Nejedlik, who's the APTA's Director of Tournaments, to talk a little bit about the upcoming APTA Tour.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so for this year, we have 15 events that are going to be on the APTA Tour. They're currently available to be seen on the APTA website under Tournaments and Schedule. One of the big changes that I wanted to note is that for the tour events and any challenger events that are associated, there are secondary draws that pull out of a tournament draw. For the men only, they are going with a new scoring format for this year. It is no ad scoring from start to finish. That's every round, main draw, and back draw. And that will be at every single tour event this season and nationals. One of the brand new tour events we have joining this year is the Rocky Mountain Throwdown. So we will be heading out to Denver, Colorado for a weekend this year, which is very exciting. It'll be our westernmost tour event in our history. Another change to the tour is that we've added a 5th Grand Prix this season. So we now will have Grand Prix in Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, New Jersey, and Cincinnati. The reason for this change was we had very strong applications from all of these cities where they were willing to put up at least $30,000 worth of prize money and guarantee at least a 32-team draw for both men and women. So that's great. On the national scene, we have Canoe Brook Country Club in New Jersey will be the next host site for nationals. That is reverting back to a schedule of Friday through Sunday play, and it's going to be held March 6th through 8th. For team nationals, this is a very popular event for both men and women. For this year, we're going to be playing the men and women on different weekends. The men are going to be in New Jersey this year, and that's going to be March 28th and 29th. And the women will be in Chicago the weekend of April 11th and 12th. And the main reason for this split in the division is that it was requested by the host sites. Those dates were preferred by them and their local players. And as part of our commitment to every player, every level, we continue to run PTI nationals at all levels. They're at 5-point PTI increments. For the women, we start at 30 plus and we go all the way to 75 plus. And for the men, we run PTI nationals starting at 5 and going up to 60. For this year, I have most tournaments already set, but I do have a few holes to fill. And traditionally, it helps if the host site has a population of players that fit the demographic for the specific level of PTI tournament. So I thought maybe I'd pitch this to you guys as league heads. If you have a playing population of women that are 70 and 75 plus, I have those 2 tournaments still to assign a host site to. And for the men, I'm looking for host sites at both the bottom level and the top level, at 5 through 20 plus and at 55 and 60 plus. So if you have any interest or you think you have some players that might be interested locally in playing in that, please get in touch with me and I'll be able to give you additional information. On the topic of tournament administration, the APTA's big addition for this year is that we have a new sponsorship playbook that we've developed, and it's now available. I think there's a link to it on Amin's agenda that he sent out for today. And it will also be available online under tournaments, tournament resources. The purpose of this playbook was to assist everyone in trying to figure out what are the best practices in trying to raise local sponsorship money for all of your events. We think that we've created a document that walks you through step by step how to do this. From what can I sell to a sponsor? What are some of the benefits I can pitch them? How do I price these tiers? And then how to execute it. And we have examples of both digital and print media that will help you. In addition to that, we have Jen Berenger, who's on this call, and she was very instrumental in developing this document, and she'll be happy to answer specific questions you might have. But we do think that this document can be scaled up or down to meet the needs of any sort of size tournament or event that you're running.
And I'd also say part of the reason we're talking about on this call is I often get questions from you all about sponsorships for leagues. Many leagues do have sponsors, but most leagues probably don't. And this document is probably, it's not tailored yet for leagues, but that's probably the next iteration. But it certainly will give everyone good ideas about potentially raising sponsorship money for your local leagues. The best example right now of a league that raises sponsorship money is the Chicago Men's League. I believe they have 3 sponsors for close to $75,000 for the season for their leagues, which is pretty impressive. But they also stream matches all week long. Most leagues that are doing some sort of sponsorship are probably raising in the $3,000 to $10,000 level at most, and some aren't raising any at all. But to the extent that that's something of interest, this document can be of help, and feel free to reach out to myself, Karen, Jen, if you have questions about that.
Mm-hmm. Then I wanted to talk just a tiny bit about live streaming as well before I turn it over to maybe Mike Yahimski to talk about the umpire situation. So for live streaming for this upcoming season, most tour events are going to see an increase in the number of courts that we're covering through live streaming. This is possible because we've contracted with a new vendor who's going to expand our ability. We've traditionally been limited to just covering 2 courts at a time, and this is going to give us the ability to cover 4 or more. Now, the main purpose of this is to overall be able to shorten a full tournament day, be able to give players an exacting start time. What we were seeing before was in order to be able to cover all the matches we wanted to stream, we would schedule, an example of this would be the women's semis at 4:30. Then we would schedule the men's semis at 6 o'clock or later. And then the men would wait until the women finished. So we'd have to stagger this throughout the day. And we would be pushed later and later. And it was tough on the players. And it was also, we were seeing like the tournament spectators cannot stay there through the evening late into the hours. So we think this is going to be a very good way of keeping a tournament much more on track, and giving everybody a better overall tournament experience. Now, one of the things we're going to need in order to execute this is more umpires or more sideline scorers. And this would be, we are willing to be streaming some matches where we will just have somebody sitting on the sideline, and we have an app that one of our APTA staff members developed. It's called Court Director. We've been using it for a couple seasons now, and it's an excellent tool, very easy to use, easy to train people on, and it actually puts the score right up onto live scoring. So we will be looking locally for more volunteers in both the umpiring job selection and in sideline scoring. So I think that's all I had. Does anybody have any questions about tournaments in general or the streaming changes?
Yeah, hi. Hey, this is Jay from the FCPTL. I had a question about the no ad scoring. I had heard that was happening for the tournaments and that the pros wanted that. I was just curious, is that being adopted anywhere in tournaments beyond the pro level or any leagues sort of testing that out in any way at different levels, or is just specifically focused on pros for now and it's not touching anything else?
This is specifically focused on the tour events for men. So women are going to continue to play the same regular scoring, and it's possible that leagues can do whatever they want. Frankly, there could be D1, Chicago's D1 or what they call the Legends. If they want to adopt it, they can, but we aren't expecting, asking, requiring. It's completely up to every league what they want to do. As of right now, I don't think anyone is planning on adopting it, but maybe as this tour season plays out, potentially there are some levels of play that one might want to be consistent with their league play. They certainly can do, leagues can make their own kind of local rules for that.
Yeah, it's always been a valid scoring format. So by the rules of the game, it's valid. And then it's the organizers of play that can choose what scoring format that they end up using. So that's a tour policy choice.
Now, one of our rulings for NRTs are that you are supposed to be using scoring that is by the rules in the APTA rule book. So we would expect any NRT to do regular scoring unless they request a change from that from the National Tournament Committee as an accommodation to speed up a tournament. But that would be something that they would request before they open registration.
Okay, thank you.
Karen, should we turn it over to Mike?
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know, Mike is the head of the APTA is head of the umpire or chair of the umpire committee. Thank you for your volunteer work for the last. You've been running it for 3 years, 4 years now.
Something like that.
Yeah,
I think so. 4 years, 5 years. I don't know. I lost track.
Based
Seems
out
like
of
10.
New Jersey at the Indian Trail Club. Thank you, Mike.
Sure. Thank you, Amin. Thank you all for giving me 5 minutes of your time. The point of me hopping on here is because, quite frankly, I need your help. Each city and each tour stop that the APTA runs a tournament in, we need umpires. Our rosters are thin. The number of tour events has more than doubled since, or probably just about doubled. They've kind of cut back the last couple of years since I've been doing it. As Karen explained, we're going to increase the number of live stream courts. Therefore, we need umpires. So like I said, I need your help. I think the key is in recruiting is getting the word out. We've had some good success with some social media posts. We've had some good success with local tour directors recruiting club members of host clubs, but we need to expand our universe. I really need your help in reaching out to your league members. I live, like Amin said, I live in New Jersey. Not that I'd like to admit that because I'm from Boston, but the league leaders there have been great in helping me recruit. I've kind of crafted a note here every year that they've blasted out to every single league member and have had some interest as a result of that. So I'm asking your permission and assistance to do the same in your markets as well.
Mike, that's an email that you or Karen can share with us that we can share with everyone, all the league heads.
Sure. I've got, I've kind of customized it over year to year, but I can kind of create a very generic one and either get it over to you or to Karen. And then, if you could send that to all the league heads and if they could publish that out to their members, that would be amazing.
Hey, Mike, it's Leslie here. Can you give us kind of a sense of like, how many do you need per like major city so that we can kind of come up with as league heads, come up with a plan of who we're going to target? Like, do you need like
as many as we can get?
But understood. But I think if we could kind of get a rough ballpark now,
Sure.
what would be your wish list? And
so
kind
Yeah,
of
so
target people that we think might be most willing to volunteer for that.
sure, sure. So, I guess to talk roster depth, New Jersey, kind of tri-state area, we need as many people as we can get. I think we've got maybe 6 or 7 tournaments this year in our region. And yeah,
We like to
No,
have at least, don't you think, Mike, at least like 6 umpires per tournament? And
yeah,
that,
I mean, ideally, the goal is for every tournament is to have umpires for all the quarterfinals and beyond.
Mhm.
So there's four men's quarters, 4 women's quarters, 2 semis,
Yep.
2 semis, 2 finals, 2 finals. So
It's like 14 matches.
yeah, so it's a bunch of matches. And then if there's the possibility of an increased number of courts that are being live streamed earlier rounds, then we're going to need umpires for those as well. So like I said, for a market like New Jersey where there's a bunch of tournaments, not everybody is available every single weekend. Especially never mind 6 weekends out of their winters. So the need is much greater in the tri-state area.
Mike, it might be helpful just not on this call, but just to kind of list out the numbers that we have in certain areas, and then we can kind of work towards filling that roster to the level that you need. Because I think if we just throw out like we just need people, like I think if we can, I know if I think about my league, if you say, listen, we need like 10 more people in New Jersey, then I can try to figure out 3 from my league. Jenna can figure out 3 from her, and Rob's 3 from his league, excuse me.
Sure.
That would be helpful because I don't have a sense. I'm so appreciative of and I'm impressed with everything that you guys do, but it would be helpful to kind of lay out, this is where we have umpires and this is how many we'd like to have. And that could kind of give us more of a targeted campaign for our league folks.
Leslie, I think that's something between me, Mike, Karen, we can figure out where the
Yep.
holes, besides the
Good
tri-state,
pick.
I think Chicago is probably the other big hole,
Yep.
just how many tournaments we have in Chicago. So those are going to be the 2 biggest gaps that we have, but we'll lay that out in the email that we send out to you all.
Yeah, we definitely need umpires though in Boston as well. So probably Philly. But the other thing I just want to say too is that we have a lot of umpire information on our website. It's on the Get Involved tab, and there's a whole section about umpires, and there's actually an updated umpire handbook, sorry. And there's a bunch of questions, like generalized questions, that if people that are interested, it really does give a good overview of what is expected of an umpire.
And
And then Mike does a great job of actually taking each person through a training and giving them a little like test and working with them to make sure they're up to speed on rules. And then at an event itself, like we take good care of newbies to get them integrated and feeling comfortable.
Yeah, Larry brings up a good point. Karen, can you just remind we've changed umpire compensation. It used to be umpires and commentators basically did this all for free, and they're still very much volunteers. But we have actually sort of increased the amount that umpires get paid. We can go through it now, or we can just put that in the email that we send out to everybody.
It's basically it's $50 a set is the new rate, which is a nice increase, and we track it very carefully, so it's something to at least be a example of how we appreciate your time.
Yeah,
A nice thank you.
Yeah, and while I don't want some other things too, we've got some swag in the works, a couple hats, a winter hat, baseball hat that everybody that umpires a match will get. While we don't want the compensation to be a driver as to why you want to do it, we're hoping that will, kind of push a few people that might be hesitant, so that, because it is a time commitment. You're giving up basically all of your Saturday and part of your Sunday, depending. That was a goal. The feedback that we got was, if you could bump the pay up a little bit, that would cover some gas, and you get meals, you get beer most of the time. just for my little sales pitch to you all, if you know someone who an ideal candidate is someone that, is a confident person. They can project their voice. They don't mind sitting in one spot for 5.5 hours. Hopefully not that anymore. Thank you. Thank you, no ad scoring. Maybe it'll only be 4 hours. But that's one of the things that people need to kind of be aware of, and I think that is kind of what scares a little a few people off. That is not the norm, although I seem to have found my share of 5-hour matches lately. There is weather. I'm getting all the bad out before the good. But it truly is, it's a great experience. You see the best players in the world. I mean, you've all seen them and how they play. It's the best seat in the house. It's truly an inside the ropes experience. Get to know the players. I'd like to call some of them my friends now. I see them during league matches and scattered around, various other clubs when I go to play. Everyone at the APTA is wonderful. The spread that you eat on tournament day is great. And it's a good way to give back to the sport that we all love and the APTA, and they take great care of us. So it's just a way to give back to them. So yeah, any help that you can do is spread the word. We'll get that note out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you again for your volunteer efforts in chairing that committee. So we'll get that email out from you to everybody. So for the last portion of our call, I'm going to turn it over to Damian Johnson.
All righty. Let me see if I can figure out how to share here. Uh-oh. It's a problem.
Do you want me to share the agenda?
No. I think I can do this. I need to just allow the permissions. Oh, actually, yes. Can you share the slides? I mean,
I can.
All right. Yeah, they just wanted me to quit Zoom, and I'm like, that probably isn't a good idea.
All right. Do you want to go right to the slides?
Yeah, let's just go right to those, and we'll go through them slowly just from the beginning. I'm going to skip through these. Certainly, if you have specific questions on these things, we can pause as we go, or you can email or reach out to me or Amin or anyone. There we go. Yeah. So just go to the next one. I'd say jump to the new board members. I think it's like slide 3 or 4 or something like that.
Yep.
With the pictures. Yep. So the first thing to kind of, point out is, an important part of the APTA is, and it definitely began with Tiernan Cavanagh's presidency, was to have a solid governance. And so we're constantly, we have term limits, and we keep people for up to 2 terms. And then we always are looking to bring new people onto the board. So we welcome 3 new board members. I don't think John is on the call, but Kristen and Barry are on the board now. And they were elected by the membership and your proxy statement. So thank you for that. And we're really lucky to have all 3 of them join the board and bring their experience from Kansas City, North Carolina, and Boston. Returning to the board for their second term are Ben McKnight, Ann Waldron, and Mandy Newell. And they've been great contributors and leaders, and we're excited and lucky to have them around as well. All right, next slide. I don't want to spend too much time on some of these charts. I got something I want to kind of point out at the end here. APTA membership was up modestly for the season, which was great to see. And it was also noteworthy to me, and I was kind of excited to see that happen not only in the larger leagues, which have, when they grow, a little bit, that can be big numbers for the APTA, but was also happening in kind of some of the smaller leagues as well. And so that's a testament to how much we all enjoy the game. We like to share it with other people. And the real hook point is you all who are running leagues and bringing people into the game. and giving them something that they can do every week and enjoy it. And when you grow and you add extra divisions or bring in extra teams or welcome new clubs, that can be a challenge for you logistically. But I just want to say thank you to you all for doing that, because when you do that, it does bring more people to this game. They get to enjoy it the way that we all have. And as a part of that, the APTA grows and can continue to make that a positive cycle for everyone. Let's see. All right, next. Revenues and expenses, the next slide. I mean, they're both up. Where we had the dues increase from the prior season. And then maybe go to the cash flow. We anticipated a large number of expenses, especially on the technology front. There were a bunch of opportunities that we had that didn't look like they were going to pan out, so we deferred those. So we did end up having positive cash flow that we didn't expect, but that was mostly because we kicked it down the road. Amin will tell you that probably to a fault, I'm very conservative about spending membership money on things that we're not confident are going to go well. So a lot of times things that happen is that we plan for the worst and then only do things if we're confident that it's going to be successful and benefit the membership at large. So we ended up with more cash flow than we intended last year, but that did make us healthier, especially as we go through the cycle of the calendar year. There were times where, because we recognized most of our revenue in the fall, and we still have a lot of work that we're doing over the course of the summer, and even some of our bills we pay right before the season starts to maintain our cash levels properly and make sure everyone gets paid is an important piece of that. Yeah, on the balance sheet. All right, grants and loans. Again, it's funny. It's one of those things that we always celebrate, kind of like the big projects and that sort of thing. Things like Cleveland Flats have always been a highlight, and we like to point towards those. But a lot of littler projects and smaller ones in each of the region, in each of the areas, we're always looking to make sure that we're investing across the country and looking for opportunities for public access facilities. And we have a broad definition of public access. So if it's a place where it's accessible for people to join and play and learn the game, those are places where the APTA is looking to grow. We get the most excited about new courts, new facilities, because that's the place where we can add new people and share this game with more people. And so, it's something that we're all very proud of. Yeah. Let's see, next slide is the tour. We've talked about that. Tournament
Let's go
players.
right.
Oh, go ahead.
Why don't we
Yeah.
skip right to this one?
Yeah. So one of the things is we were preparing, and we use these slides for the annual meeting that we host before the board meeting each year. And, for any of the local league heads, we were in Chicago this past year for the annual meeting. We often talk about, like, where do APTA dollars go? And a lot of times people will sit there and be like, well, look, it looks like, staff compensation is the APTA's biggest expense. And there have been times where we've had conversations with league leaders around the country, whether they're APTA leagues or thinking about becoming APTA leagues. And they're like, oh, well, so, you guys probably want to have more tournaments so that you make more money and so that Amin gets paid. And it's really kind of hysterical, because number one, that's not how Amin gets paid. And number two, the APTA spends money to throw tournaments. We believe that having tournaments across the country, in our league regions, with our clubs and so forth, is a great way to spread this game and share it with people. And it's a great opportunity to bring people who haven't seen the game to come see the game. So this is a investment, and the APTA loses money. It's a net spend hosting tournaments. And so when we look at, all the effort that Karen, Amin, and Sheedy, others are doing, a lot of that is about facilitating that tournament experience. And so what we tried to do here with this chart is kind of highlight the fact that each of these areas is where we're spending our attention. And so ultimately speaking, we see tour expenses, media and promotion, league, public access. League would be like paddle scores, and then IT expenses that we use behind all of that. And IT is probably the biggest change that we've had in not only this past year, but in the next couple of years. And the thing that I would point out there is many of you have met a longtime staff member, Isabel Caban. She's stepping down after this year. She's a critical contributor and has been so wonderful to the APTA, and has built a lot of things like live scoring that you would be using to look at platformtennisonline.org, and an immense number of things just behind the scenes for registration and reporting and all that sort of thing. And so she was very kind to give us plenty of notice before she retired. And so a lot of our efforts are, figuring out how to pick up for that, given how much we've been underpaying her for the many years. And the thing I like to point out is that it's not that we're mean to Isabel, but that Isabel contributes her time and gets paid under market because she loves the game. And our APTA staff members they're not employees. That's way too simple. They are volunteers as well. And so trying to pick up the continuity for that as Isabel goes. And same thing with PTI and other things along those lines. And you can go down to the summary slide one, it's the last one. Generally speaking, the thing that that I was really excited about, not only going through the last year, but our annual meeting and our annual board meeting, is that we have we've built a very great community. It is not just the APTA board. I've met most of you or many of you on the call. And you guys are part of our community and a huge part of that. And I think the APTA, as the organization that brings us all together, shares best practices, gives you a voice and contacts and resources and information, is what we're trying to do here, because we all share that same common mission of taking this game that we really love, sharing it with other people, and really enjoying it and enjoying watching it played at the highest level as much as playing it ourselves. And so, I'll kind of open it up for any questions that you guys have for us, and on any of that information or in general. And we don't want to keep it real long, but go ahead, Amin.
Damien, would you touch base on what happened with the lob rule at the
Yes.
board meeting?
Yeah, thank you. We talked about that. So as many people know, there were many people, maybe not everyone. There were a couple leagues, Boston the last 2 years, and Baltimore a year ago, where they had experimented with and talked to us in the rules committee about a lob that is hit so high that the ball lands in the court and then leaves the cage. And many players, and it's a hot topic. Many players really like that lob so much that they think that should be a winner and not a loser. The existing rule is that if the ball leaves the cage, that it's a loss of point to the team that struck the ball. And then the first year, there was a bunch of information, a bunch of feedback. They're both on both sides in favor and not thrilled with it. I will say the people that were in favor of it, the most vocal, people who want change tend to be. And then there is also a fair amount of people that didn't see a big change, big need for the change. And in all cases, we did note that while it does happen, it's not super common. Although, was it a quarterfinal match or a semifinal match?
Quarterfinal.
A quarterfinal match at Nationals. Was it Russell dug it out? Who Russell dug out with a ball out of the corner, bounced a nice tall lob, bounced in the court, left the court. And for those of us that have been involved in this conversation, there were eyes darting all over the place. So it's not that it never happens, but there. And so the board and the rules committee did a lot of research. We noticed that this question has been asked of the APTA board probably half a dozen times in the last 50 years, probably every 6 or 7 years. The question comes up for this specific rule. And after our debate and thinking about those sorts of things, we confirmed the rule would stay as is, and that it will remain a loss of point if a lob goes in the court and then leaves the cage.
Thank you.
Yes, the longer version of that one. Amin and I, in particular, enjoy debating this one for many years.
I was on the losing end of that argument, sadly. And the Boston League, which has experimented the last couple of years with this rule and very much liked it, is going to revert to the traditional APTA rule this coming season. So I don't think there will be any leagues anymore that will be using that rule. And I think it had caused a little confusion, but hopefully this helps clear some of that up now.
Yeah, and I think it was important. One of the things we did not do last year is we didn't, at the beginning of the season, we didn't hold a vote on that on that topic, and that left, I think, things kind of up in the air as well. And the thing that I will say about rules are, I know everyone on the APTA board, and actually everyone who comments on these things takes these things very seriously. And just because that the vote was confirmed this way, that doesn't mean that people shouldn't be encouraged to discuss the rules and think about the game and that sort of thing, because it is a game that has evolved over time and things have changed, and I'm sure they will in the future as well. So it's not that things have ended. So, keep those conversations going. That it is another part of engagement in this sport, and we're kind of privileged to have this kind of small world where we can have those discussions.
As you all are thinking up your questions, one more plug for everyone on here and anyone watching this recorded. If you aren't already on the league Slack channel, the APTA's league Slack channel, and you would like to be, it's a great community where people can ask questions of basically this sort of an audience. You would welcome any newcomers onto that space. So anyone who's running a league or on a league board, etc., more than welcome to join. Just reach out to me, to Anne, to Karen, whoever. Any other questions from anybody on any of the topics that we've discussed this evening?
If we wanted to, could we get more details on where the APTA membership dollars go? I find that slide very helpful, and we get that question a lot in the league. Like, where does it all go? And just having those details would help me fend those off a lot.
Yeah, so that you have the agenda that I sent out has a link to that slideshow. So you have that there. If you want more detail, happy to discuss that.
I can just ping you a list of questions on what's in the categories that I think that.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to share that kind of information with people. Very nice to see a couple Westchester people on this call for the first time. Well, Sotiri, Danny, thank you for joining.
Hey, Mean, just the live streaming. So how does that work? You've picked one company and is it just that they have more camera options, or how are they going to be able to live stream 4 courts when historically we've only been able to do 2?
Right. So the last few seasons we've had 3 different vendors. Joho, which is Mark Innes, the CPTC people, Matt McClure, and then also Drew Broderick's ProFlight. Jake Koretsky, who many of you probably know from, who authored the new PTI algorithm that we're now all using, is a young player, avid player in the New York City area. He has developed some software and has demoed to us at a small tournament and some league matches that he can now stream multiple courts with less camera angles, but also less need for human interaction. And he's basically taking it to a place where the commentators can almost produce the whole thing as opposed to having someone sitting in the hut producing it. And so he's automating a lot of what is done currently manually. So He is going to, I believe, be streaming 1 or 2 tournaments himself, but he's also going to be a secondary streamer, adding courts 3 and 4, particularly at Grand Prix and Nationals. So it's an exciting new development. It's very, we think, cost efficient, and it's innovative, and he's going to, we think, hopefully push the other streaming companies longer term to do similar types of things so that we can stream more for less. But we have a bidding process that goes, the cadence of events is we send RFPs out for the APTA Tour in March. We get all those RFPs back in April. We select the tournaments before the meeting in May, and then we put out an RFP to the streaming companies. Here are the 16 events or 20 events that we want to stream. Please bid on those. And then we get those bids back from the 3 and now 4 streaming companies, and we piece together what makes most sense and what's most cost effective.
And I should know this, but you said you added the 5th Grand Prix. Which city is the 5th? Is it Cincinnati or?
Well, Cincinnati is really Cincinnati sort of replaces a Detroit as the second Midwest, and Aronimink is really added as a 5th new Grand Prix.
Got it.
Now it's in Philly, in case you don't know Aronimink.
Yeah, no, I played there at Nationals. Good. I won a match there, my friend, at Nationals.
I have a question, just curious. I think I have some guesses to the answer, but just out of curiosity, why is the APTA fee $90 if you don't sign up through a league and $45 if you do sign up through a league?
Damien, do you want to handle it?
Yeah, I think, well, it was funny. It was actually a surprise. It was a surprise. We made that change a couple of years ago. And there were a couple of reasons for it. The primary one was that we really wanted to encourage people to sign up through their leagues, because we tend to believe that paddle is more fun when you play with other people. And so what we really wanted to do was encourage people to create communities, whether it be for a league or for a club or that sort of thing, so that now you're not just an island wherever you are. And like we had board members from outside of San Francisco and Northern California that were like, well, but we don't have a league. And I'm like, but just create, take a free website that we will pay for you, create a site there and get people to sign up on it. And now you're a club there. And this is a way of like, how do you seed communal play in areas that maybe aren't as mature? For those of us that are in mature areas with lots of clubs and so forth, there already are leagues. But it's kind of a piece to kind of drive people towards communal play, whether that be traditional leagues, partnered leagues, or even in-house, club things. Many individual clubs have signed up, especially if they're not in a large league area.
I would say that's what Damien said is first and foremost. Kind of secondary, the people who are signing up through the APTA typically I would have thought tended to be tournament players. Oh, I want to play in this tournament. I need to be an APTA member. And tournaments, as you saw from where we spend our money, they take up a lot of our resources. The average league player is not taking up a lot of APTA resources. You guys are servicing those players. We spend a lot of our time and dollars on tournaments. And so we didn't think it was unreasonable to have sort of tournament only players paying something more than league players. That said, like I said at the beginning of this call,
Tournament only players,
sorry. The reality is, and we've budgeted for that individual membership thing to be cut in half every year for the last few years. It just doesn't. Like, there are people who just, regardless of what you all tell them to do, they're gonna be like, okay, time to sign up again. I'm just going right to the APTA site. And if they ever ask us or we see it, we will reimburse them their $45, but like, we can't catch all of it. Over time, we're hoping that number goes down and down.
And I would say the other thing, is that they may even be more administratively difficult to manage the one-off memberships than when we do it in bulk through the leagues.
Yeah.
So they're also more time consuming. To distribute that responsibility is a win for all of us. That's a great question.
Anything else? Well, we're right at exactly at the hour mark. So just want to thank everyone for participating in this call, and look forward to working with all of you as you start to open up registrations into another exciting season. So we'll be in touch. Thanks again. And if you had a question afterwards, feel free to shoot it directly to us or put it on the league Slack channel, and we'll be happy to address it.
And thank you all for all the work that you do. This is the rough time of year before it gets fun. So thank you for everything, and brace yourselves. It's going to be another great year.
Thanks, guys.